To nobody's surprise, the party well underway here in Nashville ahead of the NHL entry draft with the insiders Chris Johnston, Pierre LeBrun, and Darren Dreger. Party outside, lots of business going on in the boardrooms. And Pierre, for Brad Treliving, important business to work his way through in the form of two contracts, Auston Matthews and William Nylander. What's the latest on the 40-goal man, Nylander?
Yeah, so the expectations that Brad Treliving will meet with William Nylander's agent, Louis Gross, here before the end of the week while they're both in Nashville. No surprise there. Clock is ticking. I mean, on July 1st is a modified no-trade clause that kicks in for William Nylander. The Leafs want to have an idea. They've had preliminary talks with them, but they want to have a better idea of what it will cost to sign him to an extension. In the meantime, I know there are teams that have talked to the Leafs about William Nylander. Makes sense for Toronto to make sure they have dual tracks happening here. Can we sign him, or do we have to trade him?
Well, Brad Treliving is a busy NHL manager. We know that. That's always been his style. So not only is he negotiating top priority contracts here, but he's also making trade calls, to Pierre's point. But I believe that he's already met with Judd Moldaver, who represents Auston Matthews here in Nashville. Undoubtedly, no different than Nylander. Those conversations, negotiations are likely going to continue over the course of this week. It's expected that Matthews is going to extend with the Maple Leafs, and he's certainly given Toronto that indication. But could it happen by July 1st? Well, Toronto would appreciate if that happened, but I don't think that Matthews necessarily feels he has to be on that timeline.
Well, and here at the draft, the Leafs don't have much draft capital, but one pick they do have is number 28 on Wednesday night. And I do think that's one they would consider moving. They'll look to see what's out there for a player-wise, and if not that, don't be surprised if you see them move back in the draft as a way to add additional picks, because they do arrive here with just 3 selections.
Meanwhile, Kevin Cheveldayoff, lots on his to-do list as well. Dregs Pierre-Luc Dubois right at the top of all those trade boards. Back to being a 2-horse race. Where are the Montreal Canadiens at?
Well, ongoing trade talks, right? And it seemed like it had cooled with the Montreal Canadiens and the Winnipeg Jets, primarily because Winnipeg doesn't want to go into rebuild mold, and the Montreal Canadiens don't want to give good playing assets off their existing roster because they're trying to turn a corner as well. But we know, as we reported, Montreal re-engaged with Winnipeg. But guys, I still believe that the Los Angeles Kings remain the front runner in the trade for Pierre-Luc Dubois. It's something that we're watching hourly here, and I'm told that things are starting to percolate. Simmer is the word that was used in describing the Connor Hellebuyck situation and Mark Scheifele as well.
Another busy Canadian team, the Calgary Flames, we know that. And I think it's important to clarify this. Elias Lindholm, to our knowledge, has not told the Calgary Flames that he's not going to re-sign. I think that's important to know. Now, he's also not told them exactly what he's ready to do. And so that sort of limbo situation is interesting because teams are calling Calgary and saying, would you do this, would you do this? One thing the Flames have talked about internally, I'm told, is that they don't need to decide this week. That if they feel they still have a chance to sign Elias Lindholm, maybe this goes into late summer, goes into September, doesn't have to be decided now.
Nice job pushing through that share cover, boys. CJ, there was a trade today. The Boston Bruins end up moving Taylor Hall, another first overall pick that Taylor Hall is going to shepherd on into the National Hockey League in Chicago this time.
Yeah, and a lot of different parts to this. I mean, first of all, the Bruins clear $6 million off their cap for the next 2 years. Well, isn't that convenient? They also have a pending UFA in Tyler Bertuzzi, who's believed to be looking for a contract in the range of $6 million. So, well, on Monday, there's yet to be a formal offer there. I think it is expected that there'll be a push now to sign him in Boston with the space they've created. Taylor Hall also went with Nick Foligno, the rights to him, to Chicago. It sounds like Foligno is interested in talking contract with the Blackhawks. And let's also note the Blackhawks are one of the very few teams out there willing to take on salary right now. And that's key for a lot of teams because, as we know, cap space is tough to come by.
Just a quick note on Tom Wilson. For whatever reason, we've heard his name out there. The reality is, I spoke with Caps GM Brian McClellan today, who said he's not calling teams about Tom Wilson. He does not want to trade Tom Wilson. He's not sure why that's out there.
All right, well, with the UFA market generally considered to be a little softer this year, that means trades, which is just fine with these guys. It'll keep them on their phones and out of Tootsies, guys.